In this week's video, I'm going to be talking about my blind eye and telling you how it happened and what it's like now 9 years later. For those of you who don't know, the outside half of my right eye is blind, and that's due to a brain injury when I was 17. To cut the long story short, I got drunk, fell off a roof, damaged my spinal cord, as well as acquired a brain injury. I damaged the temporal lobe in my brain, which affects memory, reading, and general thought process, as well as damaged the optic nerve in my brain, which affects eyesight. When I was in a coma, the doctors thought that I was going to end up deaf, but what happened was pretty much the opposite. Because of my half-blind eye, my hearing is extremely sensitive. Just like with a blind person, their hearing is a lot more sensitive than the average person. I went through a lot of testing when I was in intensive care and rehab, and very slowly my verbal skills began to improve, as well as my memory. I had to learn how to read again. I had to learn how to hold a conversation. I had to learn shapes, colors, people. I had to learn names and places, and everything that you learn when you're a baby, I had to relearn when I was 17. Through the years, my memory started to get a lot better, and I was able to hold a conversation and not immediately forget what somebody had said or what a conversation was about, because that was a big problem that I had to deal with, and eventually I got so much better at it. After about 4 years, I started to slowly get eyesight back in my right eye. I was able to see bright things. I wasn't able to distinguish colors or shapes or people or anything like that, but say there was a person standing right next to me with a shaved, shiny head. I could see that, but very, very vague and very fuzzy. And now I can distinguish shapes and I can distinguish color, but it's very, very difficult to see. So when I'm looking straight ahead, this is what I can see. There is a complete black spot on one side of my vision. I can see slightly up here, just where my fingers are. So where my fingers are moving right here, I can see them. But right here, I can't see them. And when I take a photo of the negative image of my eye, there are black spots on the outside of my eye, and that's where the damage to the optic nerve was. And like I said earlier, my hearing has improved so much. I can hear things that most people can't. I can hear somebody walking even if they're not making any noise. I can hear traffic from a long distance. I can distinguish what sort of car it is, how fast they're going. I can hear people talking from a long distance away, but I also have a lot of trouble where if there is a lot of people in a room and there's a lot of noise, a lot of talking, my brain has a lot of trouble focusing on one thing. And if there's too much noise in one spot, my brain pretty much just shuts down and I can't concentrate with anything. But if there's only one noise, I can distinguish that from a long distance away. But sometimes the extremely sensitive hearing can be very, very annoying. To give you an example, my unit is pretty close to all of the other units that are in this little complex where I live. And my next door neighbor is about 7 or 8 meters away from mine, and I can hear her clock ticking when all of her doors and windows are shut, which can be really, really, really annoying when I'm trying to read or I'm trying to paint or trying to do something that involves a lot of concentration, when I can hear this ticking clock. And it sounds like I'm a little bit schizophrenic because I can hear voices and hear noises in my ears, but quite the opposite. Those noises are actually there, and they can be very, very annoying when I'm trying to really, really concentrate on something. And because my reading isn't that great, it takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration when I'm actually reading. And because I have my lazy eye, I sometimes have to close one eye or put one hand over the eye because all I can see is 2 of everything. And that's something that I've sort of gotten used to within the 9 years or over 9 years that I've been in a wheelchair with the brain injury. But it can be very, very annoying when I'm trying to do something and my eye all of a sudden starts to do this. But when I have little children looking at me, I'm totally used to that, by the way. Children tend to look because they don't understand the wheelchair. But when they start staring at me, I stare at them back, either pull a funny face, stick out my tongue, or do this to them. I just stare at them and I make one eye go cross-eyed and do like the little wiggly eye thing, and that usually either makes them look away or makes them laugh at me, but either way it's funny. Most of my friends, they know that if they see me out in public, they're best to come over to this side of me, because if they're on this side I can't actually see them. And sometimes if I'm not paying full attention, I do tend to run into things, or I don't see people and I almost run into them, and I feel so bad when that happens, but thankfully that doesn't happen very often. In 9 years I have run into 4 people and 3 of those people stepped in front of me, so only one of them was my fault. I wear contact lenses as well as glasses, but I only have to pay for contact lenses for this eye, because if I close my right eye, there is no difference as to what I can see. And because my left eye is the dominant eye, that's the only eye that really has to focus on everything, and that's why I have to wear contacts only for that eye, because it makes no difference if the contact is in this eye, because this eye can see from a long way away. If I close my left eye, I can see really, really well from a long distance away, but if I close my right eye, it is blurry as anything. I can see even if I'm not wearing my contacts, but it's just a little bit blurry. And because I've had nose surgery to fix my deviated septum and a fracture on the side of my nose, wearing my glasses for a long period of time starts to give me headaches, but then not wearing my contacts or not wearing my glasses starts to give me a lot of eye strain, which will turn into a headache or a migraine if I'm not careful. If you have any questions about my blind eye, my brain injury, my spinal injury, any of that, please ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye!